Everybody, this is Nash here, and today we got the Kansas State preview. Tomorrow is going to be the day that we play Kansas State. It's going to be a tough game. Now, normally in the past, what I've done with these preview videos is I've just thrown a ton of numbers on the screen, kind of tried to color code them to make it easier to see which is who's doing better at what. But it's a lot of numbers, so I'm going to try something different this week, as well as after the numbers, we're going to give you 3 players from each team to watch out for on this Saturday. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below your 3 players to watch out for, your final score, and let's get it. All right, so hopping right into it. Offensive points per game. Texas is going to, and so a little side note with most of these stats. Everything really except for the pass defense for both of these teams and pass offense for both of these teams is a top 25 or borderline top 25. Maybe they might have something in the 30s or the 40s range. But for the most part, these two teams are very similar in the advanced statistics. And you also see Kansas State is really, in some of these standings that I've been looking at, they've been sneaking up. And then even in team rankings, which this is from, I want to give them a shout out. Go to teamrankings.com for all these stats. They're number 7th in the power ratings behind Texas at number 6. Now I know I'm done talking about the power ratings and Texas being ranked high on the power ratings, but I just want to say these are supposed to be 2 very good teams, statistically wise speaking. And then you go to offensive yards per play. Kansas State 6.2 yards per play, Texas 6.5. I actually think we're literally like number 10 and number 11 respectively in yards per play. So these are 2 very good offenses at moving the football on a per play basis. Now, and when I say that, I should backtrack, saying not that they're good at moving the football, because you could also have some really a lot of explosive plays propping that up, and that's really kind of what's happening with Texas. We really get a lot of explosive plays, or we don't get much at all. Now, going over to the offensive third down conversion percentage. I mean, both these teams, this is where you do start to get to, okay, these aren't great stats, but where Texas is lacking, so is Kansas State. You go to the red zone percentage. Now, Kansas State is, I think they're top 5 in the nation, and when it gets to down in the red zone, can you punch the ball in? And Kansas State does that well. They do that just about as good as anybody else in the nation. And, I mean, save for just a few teams. Now, Texas, we aren't bad at the converting red zone offensive scoring percentage. But I think I just looked at it, our touchdown ratio, where it's like in the 60%. So you'd like to get that higher, but nevertheless, we are still a top 25 team when it comes to putting points on the board when we get into the red zone and not getting denied. Defensively, again, like I said, this is like these teams are like they're pecking at each other neck and neck. 19.7 defensive points per game for Kansas State, 21.1 for Texas. I mean, this, and then there's gonna be another. I'm gonna go back to my old school stuff where I have a bunch of stats up there for a split second in a minute. I mean, these teams, they're trading blows is what they're doing. But move on to the defensive yards per play. I keep laughing because it's the same thing. 5.0 for Kansas State yards per play, averaging 5 yards per play. Texas is averaging 4.7. If you guessed, yes. That is a top 25 number for both of these guys, both these teams. So, yeah, we should be seeing a good game here. Then you go defensive third down conversion percentage. This is where we start to separate a little bit. All right. Texas has been, it's been lacking on third down. This is in this number to give you a where we stand in the NCAA, a benchmark, so to speak. That 41.8% is in the 90 range, like the 80 to 90 range in CFB. And when you consider Power 5, we're at the bottom of the Power 5. And so, like, I mentioned this on Jonathan Davis, Locked on Longhorns podcast. Like, Rod Babers and Hardball Harge, they mentioned it, and it's one of these things that you don't understand what's going on. Why do we play well on first and second down just to let the opponent complete a third or fourth down? The money downs. Like, why is it that we play our worst football when it matters the most? In the second half, in the third downs, on the fourth downs. Why? Those are my questions. When it matters the most, where are they? Now, I'm still riding with this team, but I mean, dang, come on, that 33.7%, I'm pretty sure that's the top 25 or near top 25 number in the nation. I sure would like that. I mean, I know you're like, oh, wow, does 7% matter that much? Does 8%? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It is literally, it's the difference between losing to Texas Tech. I'm not going to say it's the difference between losing to Oklahoma State, but you know what? It probably is. We got to be better on the money downs. We got to be better when the game matters. All right. Off my little rant. Defensive red zone scoring percentage. Kansas State is like a revolving door. We started to separate these last two stat categories, and these are the last two stat categories. But Kansas State is, woo! I'm glad that number is not our number. And specifically, actually, I want to just check something out. Yeah, that's actually pretty close to their offensive number. Their defense is competing for a worse number, or they're trying to. I think the defense might be thinking higher percentage is better. No, I'm joking, but 77.8% for Texas. That's not bad. It isn't a bad number, and it sure is a lot better than 93.3%. And it also, I will say, to my last little rant point that I just went on, at least when the opponent is getting in the red zone, we're stopping them. I'll give credit where credit is due. Now, please go win a game in the second half and go stop some third or fourth downs. Now, I mentioned this game is going to be, this is a battle of the rushes right here when you're talking about Kansas State versus Texas. And not just on offense. Look at defense. Texas defense, opponent yards per rush, 3.3 yards per rush. That's good for 17th in the nation. With 121 yards per game, that's 31st in the nation. Okay, what's Kansas State? 3.7, that's 35th in the nation, 133.6 yards. They are a good and solid rush defense. And I'm going to highlight one player on one of the reasons why they've been so solid on the rush defense. But their rush yards, these are two very potent rushing attacks going against good rushing defenses. This should be a fun battle to watch. Now, we're going to start looking at some players that we want to watch for, okay? Where else do we start for Kansas State? Where else do we start for Kansas State than Deuce Vaughn? Deuce is on the loose. Can't wait to get this guy in Dynasty and Fantasy Football. I know he's small, all that stuff. Woo! 5.9 yards per carry. Don't care about his size. On pace for 1,353 yards this year. Last year he had 6.0 yards per carry, so the only difference is he's carrying the ball less than last year. Deuce is on the loose. This is a guy that you have to watch out for. Pay attention because number 20, and he's number 22. I don't have his number on here, but number 22, you have to watch out for this guy. He can hurt you in a hurry. Malik Knowles. This dude. Now, he was not he's not their leading wide receiver to start out. But in the last 3 weeks, this dude has been a target hog for them. He's had 47 targets on the year. 25 of those came in the last 3 weeks. Also, 11 career touchdowns. 3 of them versus Texas. 2 in 1 year. 1 another. Last year, he did not have a touchdown. He didn't have a big play. So, you may have forgot about him. Don't forget about this guy. 5th-year senior. I mean, he looks like he's got speed. From what I've seen, I don't know what. Maybe it took this long for him to start doing good. I don't know. He looks like a guy that we need to pay attention to. And, yeah. Malik Knowles, number 4, by the way. That is a number 4 on his jersey. Now, Austin Moore, the last Kansas State player to watch. We're heading over to the defensive side, giving the defense some love. All right. He is their leading tackler on the defense. I mentioned that we were going to talk about I was going to bring up a reason why their run game in the defensive area has not been so good, but has been effective, to say the least. Well, big reason is this guy. Average depth of tackle on specifically run snaps on plays that it's just a rush. We're not passing the ball. 2.8 yards, meaning as a linebacker, the running back isn't even getting 3 yards on average when he is making the tackle. And he also, if you've just made it just a guess, yes, he is leading their team in run tackles as well. So, that's a guy that you want to watch out for because number 41, he's going to be doing his best to make sure that Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson are not having a great day. Heading over to the offensive side for Texas. Now, Bijan Robinson is just way too easy. It's too easy. It is. So just go ahead and consider him a player to watch for the rest of the season as long as he's playing. Roschon Johnson, number 2. He's had at least 70 yards rushing and receiving in 50% of his games. He is a huge, this guy is a big part of this Texas offense. And really not only the offense, this dude, he's the backbone of the team. This guy, favorite player on the Texas Longhorn roster. I really want to see him do good. Go Roschon. Now, something that I know I was very critical of the Rocat. Very critical, saying, hey, if it ain't working, boot it. Get rid of it. Gone. Be ya. See you later. Don't want to see it. Well, I feel like this could be a good game. Especially Roschon Johnson did have a little... This is where the Rocat, almost like an ode to last year, where the Rocat started to appear versus Kansas State. It's disappeared almost completely. Whip it back out. Roschon, great game. Keep your eye on Roschon Johnson. Now, second player to watch for Texas, Xavier Worthy, number 8. This guy, he's kind of fallen on some hard times with some Texas Longhorn fans and even some Texas Longhorn YouTubers. Nash Talks Texas. I wonder who that guy is. Well, I'm giving Worthy a chance. I'm giving him a chance. 24 targets in the last 2 games. 10 and 14 respectively. Sorry if you just heard that noise. That was my phone. Now, I say this, maybe the targets are coming for a different reason, but typically you're getting targeted because you're open. And if he's getting open, keep throwing him the ball, but let's start making that connection. A 52.2% reception percentage. That's down 8% from 21. And 21, we were sitting there saying, if he can increase his reception percentage, man, this dude is a stud, and he could be the best wide receiver, and not the best. He could be one of the best wide receivers in college football. Well, let's get that reception percentage up. I'm not saying the entire reception percentage the last 2 weeks was on him, but for whatever reason it is, let's get it up. Let's get things working, because if him and Quinn Ewers can develop a connection and get that thing going, man, we may have something special here. Okay? Now, heading over to the defensive side of the ball. I'm still going to support my guy, Deshaun Jameson. I will stand in the line of fire for this dude. 8 targets, 3 receptions versus Oklahoma State. I'll be the first person to admit he had a bad game last week, despite 37.5% reception percentage against him. Despite that, he could have done better. He could have allowed no touchdown. He could have had multiple interceptions. I still have faith in this guy. He's been solid more often than not. In a cornerback position, to me, it's very similar to the offensive line position. Yes, you can get love, right, for getting interceptions. But typically, if you shut down a guy and unless that wide receiver is, some stud wide receiver, like a Marvin Harrison or whatever, there's not going to be anything notable. They're just going to say, oh, well, you were expected to shut that guy down. No. Well, Deshaun Jameson, big part. And if Watts is limited. Now, I know Sarkisian said that we got Anthony Cook with a broken arm who said, I don't know, he looks pretty good to me. I feel like Sark turns into like this just completely other person when he starts talking about injuries on the football team, where he does not care about transparency and he's just trying to play as many mind games with people as possible. But if Ryan Watts is limited, though it does not sound like it from Steve Sarkisian's words, like I just said, take a grain of salt with that. If Ryan Watts is limited, we will rely on Jameson heavily in the pass defense, and hopefully he can provide us a good game. Now, heading over to the final predictions. Before I move over to the final prediction screen, I want to say I had this prediction reversed. When I say that, I was in Fanatic Perspective Steven's live stream on, go check that out. It was with Nino's Corner. Great stream. He asked for a prediction at the end. I could not bring myself to hit enter on the keyboard, but I typed up 31 Kansas State, 28 Texas. Well, if you were listening to my words, you already know that was reversed. I got Texas winning. I think no matter what, this is going to be a close game. It is, and I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I just think this is going to be a tough game, no matter what happens. And, man, Texas, come on. Fix those second half woes. Go perform on those money downs. All right, everybody. Hope you all have a great day. Hook 'em.